False statistics everywhere. So for the married folks, I have some good news for you. You have now significantly increased your odds of waking up next to a dead person. You were single and you're like, my life sucks. I'm tired of waking up sad and alone. I need this other person next to me. But now you're just playing bedtime Russian roulette. Say, which one of us will it be? What is it me? But the good news is that you can cash out on your life insurance. And I don't know about you. I feel like the life insurance is a better deal than the lotto. In fact, I get all of my paycheck 100% into the life insurance fund. Because if I win, and I feel like my odds are pretty strong, like if I win, I know that I will be the only winner. You know what's the saddest thing? When you play the lotto for decades, you win, and then you're on stage with 20 other men. Like, why? How? Where did you come from? Why am I splitting this 50K with you? When it be like all my 50K? It's what I'm saying. It's what I'm saying. So, the life insurance lotto, one fun fact about that is that if you actually kill your spouse, you do not get to cash in. I'm sorry. So I was thinking, like, where would one hire a hitman? Is that still a thing? Like, where? How do modern hitmen advertise this service? And if you will indulge me on this morbid path, I have a BA in marketing and communication, so I would like to now walk you through my modern hitman skills. Okay, so first of all, you need to have a lead magnet. You got to put it somewhere your ideal customer would see. Like, let's say, a farmer's market on a Saturday morning, or an all-female comedy showcase on a Saturday night. I'm not a hitman, but if I were, my free option would be like, hey, if you give me your email address or connect with me on social media, I can give you a list of best comedy shows with female comics. And you're like, oh my God, Becky, we should definitely do this. Let's give her our email. We'll connect on a Facebook. And this is where my next step is content marketing, right? So if you're in sales, you don't want to be salesy, right? If you're like, hey y'all, we're having BOGO on murders. Bye. Right? No, you gotta be like cool and nice. You gotta be like #relationship goals. If you friend me on Facebook, you'll see me and the lover at the farmer's market. You'll see me and the lover doing yoga. Me and the lover at church because #bless. Right? You're like, Bobby and I never go to the farmer's market. We never yoga together. Maybe we should do these things, right? And you're dragging them all to these places just so that you can have Instagram moments. But guess what? Y'all know, inside, you're a Netflix and chill couple. You don't want to go outside. You just want to be home. And as your relationship begins to crumble, I'm on Facebook like, Rebecca has complained about Roberto 10 times this week. I believe this is a warm lead. So, now that I have a warm lead, aka unhappy couple. Hey Roberto, what's going on in your relationship? Oh, you know, Rebecca's really like being the worst. And it's just like she's the worst, she's just not giving it to me. I don't feel in love. Other couples are doing things and we just not popping. And then I have my CTA, call to action. Do you sometimes feel like you want to strangle Roberta? And then, you just go ahead and close the deal, figure it out.
Okay. Yay. Good morning, Motown writers. Good morning. Um, let's see. So I'm Onisia, and off the top, I would like to say that we're trying to make this interactive. So I am asking in the chat. I can't see if you can already see my first comment, but using emojis. How goofy are you feeling today? What is the vibe? What's the vibe? I want to see a vibe check right now. Me, I am, I know Sylvia said that there's a slight delay. Me, I am feeling nervous. What? Ah, not very good. A little bit goofy, a little bit goofy. Because it's kind of hard to like think about comedy, think about things that make me laugh and not um one second, I'm responding to Sylvia. Yes. How can you see me? I see the post. I see the delay. All right. So Sylvia's checking in on me. Very kind of her. So am I still live? Okay, yeah. So I'm feeling like my mood is getting up there because it is early in the morning. Also, I just have to admit I'm from St. Martin, the Caribbean. So if there are any Caribbean people in the chat, drop your flag or rep your island. And as I become more comfortable, maybe the island in me will come out. But for right now, I'm using my corporate American voice. All right, let's get to the top of this presentation. Yeah, we're going to jump in. I think we have 1 hour today. So we're going to do quick because we want to get to some live examples. All right, back on Facebook Studio. I'm afraid to press refresh here on my end because um, because I don't want the live stream to cancel. Let's see here. Let me just ask Sylvia. I think, um, let's see. Can you send a test chat? Okay, let's. I'm waiting for Sylvia to do a test chat just so that I can see it in, um, so that I can see it. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I can see it on the dashboard. That way we are live. Okay. Spit takes and bloopers. Easy ways to add humor to your creative writing. Let's jump in with a little story, right? I was excited about the shared condo with the pool until the landlord revealed ongoing renovations, restricted me to the garage entrance, and advised me to avoid the doorman at all costs. Was there a pool? Did he even own the unit? I snatched the key fob and wheeled in my suitcase. Sharing a condo was cool until this couple moved in. The man was mum, so he didn't say anything. The woman questioned me like she worked immigration. Here we go, Caribbean. For those who don't know, in apartments, you lock doors and mind your business. But in condos, people want to know everything about everyone. You're on Google Maps when boom, a full screen pops up here. May I see your key and lease? No, you can't, Linda, because I'm in my apartment. Go lock your doors and mind your business. However, because this was a shared condo, I have manners. I asked why they were in Canada. Business, said the guy. Business? He placed a firm grip on her leg. He's mute, she's mute. We stare at each other. Jeez. A young couple with foreign accents travel in the middle of the night without luggage to do business? She might have thought this was a condo, but he definitely was giving me apartment vibes. If you know, you know, right? Because people who live in condos, not in the same tax bracket as people who live in apartments. I hit him with a yawn and stretch, head to my room, and lock the door before being murdered for knowing too much. Oop, this mouse is jiggly. The next morning, the woman's brown hair was dyed red, and she insisted on hanging out together so we could have some fun experiences. Man, hers was a poorly set trap because even I knew that couples hate third wheels. We swear besties before testies, but as soon as we catch a hottie's eye, we ghost the squad and go full Taylor Swift. You belong to me. Oops. Oop, there we go. Oh, six. Was she a sex trafficking victim? Late night arrival? No luggage? Drastically changed looks in 24 hours? No, they were clearly criminals on the run. Cheap rent? White walls? Black couch? A revolving door of single female tenants? I bet the only fun experience they had planned was a sexy Romanian threesome. It was too early to pull another yawn and stretch. Sensing my panic, Roberto explained that they Sensing my panic, Roberta explained that they were Romanian Jews attempting a quick divorce in Canada. Finally, knowing the truth allowed me to relax, and while exploring Toronto with my new friends, relax a while, exploring Toronto with my new friends. Shout out to pornographers who check IDs and confirm that all talent is sober when signing consent and release forms. Now, that was an excerpt from, I gotta say, it's been a while, so I'm just gonna toot my own horn. From my award-winning humor column, Just Being Funny, I earned a 30 under 30 award from Ignite Caribbean for cultural influence. Now, this story is an example of how we can use prose, the written word, to tell a comedic tale. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Onisia, sounds like Onisia. I am a writer and a comedian. I had a syndicated humor column which ran for 4 years in the Daily Herald and other publications. Currently, I'm a humor greeting card writer for American Greetings. I have a family and they're trying to get in on this live stream. I'm also a member of the Kates. Before the pandemic, we were Chicago's premier all female comedy showcase. We are getting back into these comedy streets. Hopefully, we can reclaim the crown from Las Locas. My screenplays have advanced through Sundance episodic labs twice, and my comedy podcast, Scams, Swindles, and Schemes with Devin Whitlock, uh, was distributed by Hoo Ha Ha Podcast Network, which is owned by Elizabeth Banks. And when I'm not doing all the things for me, I'm doing my side hustle, which is Claire Mango, where I help authors launch their works into the world. So now that we have a taste of who I am, what I think is funny, we can get into the lessons for today. Bueno, Expectations versus realities. I have been doing stand up comedy since 2015. So that means I'm 10 years into my journey. 10 years into my journey, I am not selling out stadiums, but I am working consistently as a writer and comedian. This is a 1 hour workshop. Our time together is very limited. So while you will not be ready to uh, do a 1 hour comedy special or self publish your humor memoir, we can get the ball rolling. Maybe you'll feel confident enough to write a 500-word humor essay. Maybe you'll do a 5 minute comedy set. But this 1 hour workshop, I really want to tap into our natural abilities and also tap into our natural abilities and also give you some tips so that you can level up a bit. I'm going to refresh this other page to see what other chats we have here. Uh, let's see. Two people. Okay, let me see. Okay, Sylvia's tagging people. Good morning, Valerie. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, let's continue on here. Onward. So, like I said, we're going to try something. Even though there's a delay in the live, I would like to read some of your writing and give some advice on the spot. If I don't get to your piece, I will email you feedback because I love helping. That's what I do all the time. I want to know, if possible, in the chat, what type of writing project you're working on. With that information, maybe I can give right now here in the chat some more specific advice on if everyone's working on comic strips, why am I talking about novels? If everyone's trying to write a stand-up comedy piece, why am I talking about greeting cards? And then again, I just want to do a vibe check. How you feeling with emojis? I know it's early. You guys on a Saturday? Wow. Okay. What is a wait, no. That's not right. 11, 12. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go with this. What is a joke? Remember that a joke always takes place in the context of an audience's expectations. Keep in mind what your audience will accept, tolerate, or just plain get. This is from one of my favorite books about comedy. It's called The Comic Toolbox. And this book is not just, when we talk about comedy, I'm not just talking about stand up comedy. If you want to be humorous in real life, on the page, on the screen, in a video, this book, The Comic Toolbox, is a real gem, and I found it at Chicago Public Library. So I'm sure that your library will also have a copy, have a copy. If not, you can also always do what is it called? An interlibrary loan. So I'm going to read this again and then unpack it. What is a joke? Remember that a joke always takes place in the context of an audience's expectations. Keep in mind what your audience will accept, tolerate, or just plain get. So, for example, for example, um, if you were talking to your mother, right? This is your mama. You are the child. You can't just say, "Good morning, big head," right? Because that's your mom. This is your audience. She's not gonna accept that. She's not gonna tolerate that. That's not a joke. But if you're talking to your partner or your children, you can say, "Good morning, stinky butt." You see? So there's always a way to get a laugh. You just have to be aware. And this in like your novel writing, we also have to think about the audience is the reader of the book but also the the dynamics between the characters on the page, right? If you like, what is the difference between an annoying, creepy guy and like the charming, witty, potential love interest? It's the way that they interact, it's the context of the joke. Now, basic joke structure. This definition comes from Breaking Comedy's DNA by Jerry Corley. This is another book that really supercharged my comedic talents. It most likely is not available in your public library. I bought it via Jerry's website for about $30 and then I printed it. I have it right here. It's all like highlighted. So let's get into this definition. A joke is setup followed by punchline. Okay? Setup followed by punchline. It's not setup and punchline, it's followed by. So we're driving through the thought. In the setup, you set your audience up to make an assumption of what will happen or be said next. So, for instance, we have, I guess, a common idiom: birds of a feather flock together. If I wanted to make a joke about thieves, ooh, English is hard, girl, today. Thieves, I can say birds of a feather scam together, right? Because you're taking the audience expectation, they're expecting the word flock. But if I add in the scam, it's funny. And then, like, I guess I should say, like, in the context of this joke, it's like if you are reading on social media with your bestie and you guys see that your enemy was caught up in a thieving scheme, you guys would like go together and be like, girls, birds of a feather, scam together. That's how the joke is set up. It's set up followed by punchline. Okay, this mouse. Now, the punchline is the jokey joke part. It shatters the assumption. It's the comedic plot twist. All right? So, like we said, if people are expecting you to turn right, but then you make a left turn, that's a joke. It's the surprise element of it. And also, mind you, going back to the previous statement, we have to also consider our audience, because sometimes you can't turn left. All right. Let's see. Setup. Remember, I just read an example from my humor column, Just Being Funny, about the Romanian threesome. Hunting cheap rent on Craigslist was dumb. Got a shared condo with a pool for $150, and now it was time to pay the piper. Pay the piper with a blowjob. Because when we think about paying the piper, we think about that old fairy tale. And when we talk about like the Craigslist, the couch, the cheap rent, the whole joke of that column is that I'm telling people I got cheap rent in Canada, but I think I just walked into an episode of The Casting Couch. That's why with a blowjob is how you pay the piper. You're not paying the piper with cash, but you're paying him with sexual favors. All right, let's keep moving because I want to get to your examples. This is a birthday card that I sold to American Greetings. On the front, it says, Happy birthday. You're finally at the age where you need to moisturize your face and your neck. And then we open the card and says, We can't be seen with body parts in different decades. So we know that A lot of birthday cards come with age jokes. And so the punchline, the surprise is, well, why I gotta moisturize my face and my neck? Yeah, because your neck looking old, sis. You gotta keep it in the same decade. Okay, anyways, moving on. So now let's talk about what's possible with prose. Before we get into that, I want to talk about, um, well, we'll see. So when I read the humor column to you, there's kind of a cheat because I'm reading it in a performative way. So that adds to the humor of the piece. And that's one of the biggest downfalls with prose. If you're writing a novel, you can't just insert a picture. Because even if you insert a picture in your book, right, you have to consider the printing mechanism because you want the image to be high color, black and white color, blah, blah, blah. But let's focus on if you're writing a traditional novel, what is possible with prose? Let's see. You can use words and phrases from other languages, right? Tap into the cross culturalism of it all. Next, use misspellings and alternative spellings for comedic effect. You want to talk to millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. We People like to say they don't like a good pun, but they love a good alternative spelling, okay? Let's see it here. Favorite example from a few years ago, bone apple tea. They're using a phrase from a foreign language, bon appetit, which is French, and we consider French food fancy and elevated. But because the food in question is not fancy, not elevated, you say bon appetit. You're using two possibilities in prose here. We're using words and phrases from another language, and then we're using misspellings. And the juxtaposition of the two, the bad food and the spelling, makes a joke. Now, if you had a novel, you wouldn't, if you were writing a romance novel and you're like, she put down, what is this? Corn on untoasted white bread. Lord of mercy. um, you would have to describe the food situation. You feel me? So you would take your time as a writer. You describe on a plastic, not even plastic, girl, please. She was on a styrofoam plate with untoasted Wonder Bread and straight from the can, cold. What's this? Corn kernels. And with a smile, she said, bone apple tea. Anyways, I'm not going to belabor the point because we want to get to some more examples. Other possibilities in prose. Readers can go at their own pace. Not all of us are strong readers. In fact, beyond being a strong reader, not all of us have, I'm going to call it a encyclopedia, a broad pop culture encyclopedia. So we got to read things a few times. And that's me. I'm a comedian, but I don't always got my finger on the pulse. You feel me? Um, Written jokes are easier to share. When I wrote my humor column, I specifically put paragraph breaks. I specifically wrote jokes so that they would fit into Twitter's 280 character because I wanted to be able to tweet out the joke on Twitter. So I'm thinking about marketing. I'm also thinking about if someone is reading my humor column on their phone, I want them to be able to get the joke in a screenshot, right? They're scrolling on phone, they'll be able to screenshot and share it. So as authors, when we are writing our pieces, we can also think about like how am I wording this paragraph? Like try and do micro writing. Oops. So the example for that is uh girl. So sometimes when we see a meme on the internet, this is a picture, so it's not a video. You gotta go down to go up to go left to go right just to get the joke. But because it's written text, you can go at your own pace. Basically, this is a white rapper, he's doing something, and then they're talking about, imagine being on the, girl, let me just open it big on my side because glasses. So Belly Gang Cushington really shut down the highway for Don't Do It. And then Altoids Revenge says, imagine being on your last strike with HR at work and you late cuz albino Jeezy rapping on the freeway. Girl. So we can see here this person on X, Twitter, is using a few things. They are using alternative spelling, yo, cuz, wit, because they're adding to, this came from black people Twitter. So I'm assuming that the original poster is a black person. They're using African American vernacular English, AAVE, to emphasize the humor of their situation. And because it's all nice and compact, we can share, it's easier to share it. If it was a video of someone reacting, it would be more difficult to share. So that's one of the benefits of that I like writing prose, writing comedy versus making comedy videos because it's so easy to share. We can play with font type and size. Ugh, boy. We can play with font type and size, and then oh god, and then wordplay puns are better understood written than spoken. If we go back to the Bon Apple Tea example, if this was a sitcom and I put the plate of corn and bread down, I'd be like, Bon Apple Tea, get it? Bon Apple Tea. I hate that you have to rephrase the joke. But if it was prose, we get it one time. Bon Apple Tea. Um, you can also play with the font size and type. Here is another excerpt from my humor column, Just Being Funny. It's an entry about Princess and the Frog, where I'm sharing my annoyance with Tiana and what's his face relationship. I say, I'm gonna make it big so that I can read it. As a black woman, I'm tired of having to play Captain Save a scrub. Yeah, yeah, ugh, that was a typo. So this came from my rough draft, so probably my editor caught that. The world likes to pretend like we're unworthy bottom feeders with a ton load of children looking for a handout, but that ain't true. So the way I'm adding humor to this piece is I'm emphasizing that I am as a black woman. I'm not writing it BLACK. I'm using an alternative spelling inspired by the French, a black woman, and then to convey to the reader that I'm really rolling my eyes and I'm annoyed, I'm playing with the all caps going up and down, going scrub. Now, I would like to say that we want to use these sparingly. Mm? We want to be mindful. And what did that woman say? We want to be mindful when we show up to work. We don't want the text to look all crazy. And like as Jean Voorhouse says, the joke exists in the context of the audience. So if I am writing a thesis and I want to add a jokey joke in a thesis, I probably wouldn't be doing too many all cap, lower caps exchange. I really want to think about the audience and how I present the joke. Like for my humor column, it is okay to do the asterisks where you go like checks, no, turns to camera, because that is the language of the page. But these are all possibilities in prose. or possibilities with pros. I'm trying to get my mouse to do something. Okay, let's see what else. Nervousness won't interfere with comedic timing. As you guys have experienced during this presentation, I got the lisp and I be fumbling over my words. Usually, when I'm doing comedy on stage, I can get rid of my nervous energy by just like moving my body round and round. On the page, I love writing humor because I can go with my own timing. The timing is always the same. We can use line breaks, M dashes, page turns, if we're talking about greeting cards, to help land the joke. Okay, the best visuals are painted with words, whether written or spoken. Readers can tap in to the magic of their imagination when we use all six senses. All six, not just five, all six. So, for example, one way I add humor to my prose is I write the story straight. Like, I'm not trying to be jokey jokes. I wrote the story. I went to Canada. I met a couple. They were looking sketchy. I thought they were trying to sex traffic me. I wrote it straight, no jokes. But then I go back in with each sentence, with each paragraph, with each moment. I ask myself, what am I smelling? Right? What am I tasting? What am I seeing? I see him put his hand on her leg. I could emphasize more what his leg looks like. I see her dye her hair. I could have, if I was limited to 500 words, but if I had more um, word time, we could talk about um, red. Describe the red. Crack some jokes about the red. Was her hair fried? Was she looking like a Chucky doll? You know, what do I feel physically, right? My hand grip the key fob. I talk about the key fob when I entered the building, and I was like, I literally, yo, Dre, this apartment situation was real janky. I had to enter this building through the garage. I, in hindsight, I realized that it was a condo intended for single occupancy, but to raise money, the guy was renting out the rooms like individual Airbnbs. Girl. So, what do I feel? I feel my back crack every time I had to jump through the garage door before it squashed me to death. And then finally, what do I sense? I love in humor writing that you can talk about what's in your mind, what you thought. Like I imagine my eyes bulging out of my head. So use all your senses to find the moments to add comedy. All right, we've made it. We've made it. I'm going to refresh the chat to see what questions you guys have. Glorious day. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Yay. Okay. Let me go to my email and hit refresh. I hope someone sent me something funny because I would love to give you something tangible to go home with. If not, then I will just open up um walk you through my the one I did for Princess Tiana. And but the offer still stands, friends. If you, the first 10 people to email me a 500-word excerpt, I will go in there. Um I will follow up with you with advice on how you can punch it up and make edits to it. So I only see 4 comments from Marze, Lisa, and Wayne saying good morning, but I can't see the 18 others. Yep, we do. We have 15 minutes to give y'all some jokey joke feedback. Should I run it back? Well, I don't know if to run it back because I can't see your comments. Well, while I let's move forward a little bit and see here. So, like Sylvia said, promo, two people who actually have a question or a comment uh, will get a 1 hour comedy writing consultation. Basically, I sit down with you, I'll read your work before we meet so we can maximize the 1 hour time. So you email me your work, I will read it, I will make notes, we meet in person to discuss. And usually I do those consultations for $75, but two people will be able to chat with me about their jokey jokes. And then today, the first 10 people to email me a 500 word excerpt will get feedback. If we get it in before the 15 minutes is up, great. If not, I will respond to you via email. Uh, I think it's for, oh, I guess I could do that. But now, how do I do that? Okay, finally, I can see some comments. So is it safe to relax language in text because of yes, Wayne, you're on the money. It is safe to relax on your spelling and grammar or word choice to convey humor. Now, I will say, for the example you gave, we want to be very controlled with our alternative spellings. So, for example, my favorite way of spelling, so when I wrote for the newspaper, I was not allowed to use profanity or be very explicit about the sexual encounters. And because um, the sexual encounters, so because of that, I had to find creative ways because I did not want to. I was going through a rebrand. So before I had Just Being Funny, I had a column that was inspirational for children. I was very on a path to becoming the next Oprah of my small town, and I did not want to do that. So this new column was very focused on raunchy. And even in late night comedy, if you watch stand up comedy clips from like Conan or The Tonight Show, like when the comedians come out to do a set, if you pay attention, they do not use profanity. You can't say the B word, the S word, the C word. I was about to say it on this live stream, but then I thought better of it because it is early in the morning. So you want to be mindful of your language. So my favorite word for publication is whore. The publisher might feel funny about whore and ho, H-O or H-O-E, depending on how you do it. But I got away with ho, H-E-A-U-X. And ho, I know that I could use it because it's a popular spelling I saw on the root. Haha, Vanessa, you're not going to get me to say the C word. C-U-N-T is the C word. However, in the Caribbean, we like to say S-C-U-N-T, skunt, which is not the same as C-U-N-T, but one letter can make a big difference. Um, so we want to pay attention to how we spell the words. And also if we we want to sprinkle in our jokes. They talk about in comedy that timing is everything. When I make a joke, I need to let it breathe so people can laugh. And if you just go dead silent on stage, the vibe's going to be weird. But if you add a little ad lib or a smaller joke, people can get time to catch their breath. So that sentence way, so it's safe to relax language is really tough. You have too many you have too many uncommon spellings in there. But I like the way you're thinking. Kenya Moss says, I'm sorry, I'm not joining, but I'll watch your replay. That's all right, Kenya. Vanessa has a comment and says, the only way I've used humor in my novel is that I've had some high schoolers say something sarcastic or tease somebody. That's a great way to use humor. And that's the number one way teenagers think they're funny, okay? They're not. Like one character was double promoted from ninth to 11th grade. Jesus, genius. She went to a bonfire with some 11th graders. She was introduced to the group. Somebody shouted, fresh meat. I love it. I love it. And they all laughed at her. I know it was like, no, no, no. It's not funny because think about it. Like John Borhaus said, comedy is in the context of the audience. This is teenagers, right? Teenagers, they're not some highbrow genius. Okay, the common man love a good joke, fresh meat. I love it. The double entendre. That was very good. Well, Chit, is your book express yourself as you wish. Having said that, humor is to be used like spices in cooking. Never let the spice overwhelm the meal. Exactly, Wayne. One of my favorite novels is Miguel Street by V.S. Nepal. And in it, he's using exclusively Caribbean language. However, even though in the Caribbean we have alternative spellings for a lot of words, the best Caribbean prose is when we practice restraint. I remember when MSN Messenger first launched and everybody, we were still developing our, should we say, our lexicon, our dialect in written form. And some people, like my sister, every word needed to be spelled differently. My gosh, Linda, you couldn't understand what she was saying. But if you sprinkle a little, you see how I did that there with my accent? You sprinkle a little, it's good. I write dark fiction, so I try to have humorous exchanges or thought to lighten the horror. Let me tell you something. Kenya, having horror and humor together, chef kiss. That is so great. One of the laugh triggers we have is surprise, you know? And for instance, if you're watching a White Lotus in the final episode of season 4, the shootout starts, right? It's real tense. And then they have this quick moment where I forgot what he is, like the hotel manager or whatever. He falls back into the pool. He's like, whoop, whoop, whoop. Tension and release. That's why we have humor in horror. Um, And some of the best horror films when we talk about scary movie, like the by the Wayans brothers, it's so good because you could play on the tropes. You can wink at the tropes and adding humor to those moments will really elevate your piece. Let me see what other comments I can see. I'm glad I can finally read your comments because y'all had some good ones. And then Facebook is going to play in our faces again. Facebook, you gonna play in our faces? Okay, 24 comments. Let's go. I write dark fiction. Yep, this is good. What's the C word? Ah, Facebook. They don't want us to be great. They don't want us to be great. Well, shit. Wayne, I want to say that well chit is well timed. It is hilarious. Well chit. That's also the alternative spelling is also a way to show accents and differentiation in character. But yeah, like you said, when we want to use it like seasoning. Girl, Facebook playing with my face. There are new comments and I can't see it. Yeah, I see you, Vanessa. The scary movies were funny. But let's focus back on pros. Let's see what else we have in. Oh, I was making the handout. Okay, let me. Um, we'll cover two lessons, possibilities in prose more in depth, more examples, and then the first part of joke theory. And then also some resources in there are going to be book recommendations like the comic toolbox. have a link to that. Breaking Comedy DNA, have a link to that. All the books that I use while working on my humor column. I ate a salad with chicken cut. Hey, Vanessa, you eating real healthy. So let me get it straight. You woke up before 10 a.m. You had a salad. You're doing a workshop. Let's talk about hustle culture. Let's talk about hustle culture. You grinding. Intentional misspelling is also a good way to indicate that the character is a very young child. Hey, not even a very young child. It's a way of just expression. Yeah, if someone has a lisp and you want to play it out on the page, that's also good. The French person, if they have an accent, that's also good. Now, God. Okay, so May 5th to 16th, I will be teaching this class, but instead it will be a six-part lesson. It's via email. There's more joke theories. There are assignments, other opportunities via Age to Perfection Romance Writers Group. The information of that will also be in the handout. Um, okay, I think I see the comments rolling now. Yay. Okay. Because I see, wait, you said nice accent. If it's my accent, thank you, accent. Let's see here. It's $5 for A2P members, is 15 for non-members. Uh, which I guess you're getting more than a 1 hour consult. So Age to Perfection romancewriters.com. You can register for that class via them. Ugh, was that it? Was that the end? Okay, and then I am at Claire Mango. I do book layout, cover designs, ebook conversions, but I'm sure a lot of you have your own people and you know how to do that. If you need promotional graphics and whatnot, my new favorite thing to work on is animating children's books. Uh, so if you go to my YouTube, youtube.com/ at Onisia Miller, or on my website at clairemango.com, you'll see some examples of that. So if anyone is thinking about, I want to make a book trailer and I want to animate it, that would be interesting for me. And the cool thing I have with Claire Mango is, listen, I'm tired of negotiating. I have pay what you can options. So you give me a number and then I'll go haggle with you. If I like the number, I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll wake up. If I don't like the number, I will be eating ice cream and sleeping. But yeah, if the circumstances is right, I love to collaborate because I got other things going on. You know what I'm saying? All right, that was the end of the slideshow. Let's see. Let's check the email one more time to see if anyone wants to share some writing with the class. All right. Email says, survey says no. But thank you for your participation. Wayne, if you have, I'll ask Sylvia how to get in contact with you. But if you have a project that you want to practice adding some intentional misspellings, I would love to do a 1 hour consult with you. Vanessa, if you also have in your busy wake up before 10 eating salad with chicken schedule, if you have some time, I would also love to do a consult with you. And with that, friends, I thank you for joining me on this live. I had a good laugh. I hope you had a good laugh. Feel free to email me questions, comments, and concerns, all spelled with a K. No. Yeah, no. And like, I know this world is a lot about like sell, sell, buy, buy. Listen, I like making internet friends. So honestly, truly, if you're an interesting person, you have an interesting proposition, email me at hello@clairemango.com. We can collaborate. We can have fun. I want to read your work, your jokey jokes, give feedback on it, because I got time. You know what I'm saying? I got time. You got time. All right. Bye.